Hey, yeah. So anyway, Diaper Donnie invaded Venezuela and abducted the, I won't say legally elected president Maduro, but he was the president. He was a sovereign head of state. He was not legally elected. He had run a number of single candidate elections in which, he just sort of said, yeah, okay, I'm the president, and all the votes are for me, and so therefore I won the election. Exactly the kind of election that the American oil companies used to run in Venezuela during the 1950s and 60s, back when Venezuela was basically an American fiefdom, owned and operated by the American oil companies for their profit, and fuck the Venezuelans. Yeah. Maduro was not a good president, and he was certainly guilty of, among other things, election fraud, illegally seizing the government for himself, privatizing for himself the publicly owned oil reserves of Venezuela so that he could personally enrich himself without passing any of the benefits on to the Venezuelans except the tiniest trickle of aid that he did allow through, basically in order to make sure that people didn't rise up and kill him. Maduro was a terrible president. He was a corrupt president. He was a greedy president. His main goal as president was to make himself obscenely rich, and he did this. And if he had played ball by the American rules, they would have let him. They would have let him keep doing this. If he had agreed to sell oil in American petrodollars, and if he had agreed to allow Americans to have extreme discount prices on Venezuelan oil. But no, he insisted on selling in Chinese yuan, and he insisted on doing business fairly with all countries that he sold oil to. In other words, you had to actually pay for the oil. Now, he didn't charge market price. I think he was charging around 75 to 80% of market price, so it was still cheaper than market price. But he was selling, not giving. And that is the thing that made his government unpalatable to the Americans. He was selling, not giving, and he was doing business in a currency other than the American petrodollar. And the whole reason that America dominates the petroleum industry with the petrodollar is that's the only thing propping up the American economy. Without the petrodollar, America would be bankrupt. By making sure that the world buys and sells oil in petrodollars, American dollars, the Americans have given their money at least superficial appearance of value and worth, which props up the whole American economy. Chavez, like Hussein and Gaddafi, decided not to deal in petrodollars. So they had to be removed. Was Chavez a drug dealer? No. Was he a drug lord? No. Was he manufacturing and distributing fentanyl in America? No. Was he a crook? Absolutely he was a crook. He was a terrible person. But here's the thing. Trump's invasion of Venezuela could have been justified if he had announced that he was going to invite the United Nations to supervise an unbiased election that was not influenced by American interests. If he had done this, he could have legitimized his invasion of Venezuela, said, well, it was necessary, we had to do it. It was for the Venezuelan people. He could have done that. But he didn't. Instead, and he's already announced this, he's going to run Venezuela as an American fiefdom. Yeah. There's going to be no Venezuelan government in Venezuela. There's going to be a few Venezuelan assistants helping the American administration of Venezuela. And the purpose of that American administration of Venezuela is not going to be to rebuild the Venezuelan economy and diversify the Venezuelan economy. It's going to be to ensure the continued flow of oil from Venezuela to America. Or at least from Venezuela through America to the rest of the world. Because, yeah, that's a lot of fucking oil. And the Venezuelan people, well, as far as Diaper Donnie is concerned, fuck them. Possibly in the most literal sense, because, yeah, America no longer has a brothel. It used to be Cuba before Castro took over and closed the brothels. It used to be the Philippines before Marcos was overthrown and replaced with an actual elected government who closed the brothels. So now there has to be Venezuela. And yes, Trump does want to turn Gaza into America's brothel in the Middle East, but that's not happening either because, well, they're not going to be able to get the natives to agree to it. But Venezuela, they might be able to. And America needs a brothel, and there are a lot. I mean a lot of very young girls in Venezuela. So there are two reasons. The oil and the young girls. And those are the reasons for the conquest of Venezuela. Not drugs, not the betterment of the Venezuelan people. Oil and young girls. That's what Trump wants, and that's what Trump is going to extract from Venezuela. The people of Caracas are not dancing in the streets. The Venezuelans in Fort Lauderdale and Miami Beach are dancing in the streets. But they're doing so to American country bands. And they're doing so with the firm belief that they're going to be given a privileged place in the new American administration of Venezuela. The Venezuelans, they're not dancing in the streets. Not in the streets of Venezuela, at least. They held their breath and hoped for the best. And when the best didn't come, they braced themselves for the worst. And the worst is coming, unfortunately. Yeah. The worst is coming.